All right, live now at Auburn Arena, Neville Arena, as we watch Auburn annihilate Oklahoma 98-70. Taylor Corn, Jim Dunaway, the basketball show, live now. And Taylor, we knew by the point spread in Vegas, this was likely an easy Auburn win tonight, if you believe in point spreads and stuff. The matchup wasn't good for Oklahoma. And my first takeaway on this is going to be the points in the paint. I'd love to hear your first initial thought on what we saw Auburn do to Oklahoma here tonight.
I'm kind of speechless. This team continues to amaze me. I mean, we talked about Johni Broome didn't do a ton in the second half, but everyone steps up. Taha did not have a great first half in terms of shooting. He had a productive first half. He had 3 assists in 3 minutes that led to 7 points. But he got his shot. His shot started falling in the second half. I mean, this team is just electric. This team could beat you in a number of different ways. Something that stood out to me in the first half was that Auburn had 5 steals. Oklahoma had 0. Auburn had 7 blocks. Oklahoma had 0. This is the first half. This team's unbelievable.
Yeah, number one team in the country, the best team in the country. And we break it down. Always your comments over here, our stews. I know this could be silly, but I think about it right now. UConn of last year or Auburn right now, neutral court. That would be a fun watch. Who wins that game, says our stews there. You know, um, last year I thought that Auburn team was going to beat that UConn team. Auburn's size inside. You had Dylan Cardwell had a big night tonight. 8 points, but he made his presence known in there with part of those blocks and a couple of dunks tonight. Broome is, he's Johni Broome. He's one of the best players in America. So he'd have been big against that UConn team last year, the back-to-back national champs. And then they bring Chaney Johnson and more size off the bench. They're a very physical team. They beat Oklahoma 46-20, and really until they subbed, it was 46-14 in paint points. So I would have liked this Auburn team against last year's UConn team, but that's not the way it works anymore. We won't get to ever see that. But it's a good hypothetical, ours, dude. But really, absolutely a dominating performance against an NCAA tournament team in Oklahoma. We have to address, though, early on here, and Chad Baker-Mazara. I mean, he had 15 points tonight. Give me your initial thought, because we all remember what happened in the tournament last year. And you could sort of see the smack talking from Oklahoma, and he was starting to get into it and giving it back. What do you do in that situation, Taylor? And you watch this guy play every second he's played at Auburn. What do you think of the Chad Baker-Mazara we got tonight?
Prior to this game starting, we literally had a conversation, and I was talking about how I felt like he's grown up, he's matured, and he's handled himself better than he did last year when situations get tense. And something that Bruce Pearl's talked about a number of times this season, because he's been asked about it in press conferences, is the fact that teams target him. It is well known that he has a little bit of a temper and is known to lose it at times. And teams are going to take advantage of that. If they think that they can get him hot, they can get him on edge a little bit and make him react, they're going to do that. He has been better. And when the game started getting a little bit out of hand in terms of the score in the second half, Oklahoma started to lose their cool. And the thing with Chad is someone else might instigate it. And this is what happened in the Yale game last year. Someone instigated it. He retaliated. And the second one is typically the one that gets caught. And if there's any question in a scuffle or any sort of altercation, Chad's not going to get the benefit of the doubt because of his past. You know, he has a history of this type of thing happening. He always seems to be involved one way or another, and whether someone else is trying to instigate it, is trying to get you riled up or not, you've got to be able to walk away, because the second man is typically the one that gets caught, and I believe that's what happened tonight.
Yeah, nothing too egregious, just a little talking and then sticking the tongue out, but it got him a technical off after a common foul, and that was his fourth and fifth foul, and that got him out of the basketball game. John W. says Chad Baker-Mazara, a little bit of a diva, but still a great player. Cardwell's reverse dunk was very strong, he says in the chat room
Yeah.
there. This is the basketball show live in Auburn after a 98-70 Auburn win over Oklahoma tonight. Again, Oklahoma, an NCAA tournament team in all the brackets right now. One of 13 SEC teams that are in there. And you Auburn fans jumping in, chatting with us afterwards as we cover this historic basketball season so far. Everyone's starting to count down the days to Auburn and Alabama. And let's see, I had one of those until we got an update here. Someone was talking about how iconic that Auburn Alabama game is going to be. We're getting close
Yeah.
to that now. But yeah, here we go. NH3425, the Auburn Alabama game is going to be a game of the year, most likely. No holds barred game right there. Can't wait. I'll be honest with you. I'm so nervous about that game, not because of the outcome either way. I mean, we all know where our hearts are on this show, but we have a admiration and love for the other program, and that's where my apprehension starts coming in here. Is everything's going to be twisted and wired so tight that I want it to be a great basketball game and it not turn into anything that could blow up into something bad. I don't want it to be a fight or any cheap shots or anything like that. I want them to play when we get to February 15th, like two of the best teams in the country and just play basketball. And I worry that it's been such a talked about matchup as we're counting down, and I worry about everything, but I am starting to worry just about both of these teams, Alabama and Auburn, at how intertwined they've become, how they're two of the top three teams in the country right now. It's going to be a powder keg in Tuscaloosa on February 15th. It's just going to be insanity, and I just hope it's 40 minutes of just really high quality basketball and not any of the stuff that we almost saw tonight from the Oklahoma players. That a lot of that Oklahoma smack talking tonight led to what we saw from Chad Baker-Mazara, and I don't want any of that when it's Alabama and Auburn on February 15th. That may be
Well,
naive of me.
I think that that's very naive because I don't think that this is just going to be like a clean, friendly, fun game of basketball.
Yeah.
I hate to kill your hopes and dreams, but I will be very, very shocked if that happens.
Yeah, I know. I just
You can hope. I will not.
Yeah.
You can hope as much as you want, but don't get your hopes up.
Yeah. AU Big Bob, Chad Baker has got to be able to walk away. Thought he had learned from the Yale game, but at least he's doing it when we're up 20. Yeah, but you just worry about, if it's not a team that you're so much better than, that it'll pop up again. I guess you were so much better in Yale too, and that impacted the game so much. But just his energy though, that's where I go with Chad Baker-Mazara. His energy is so good. I'll tell you one play that is just the greatness of Chad Baker-Mazara, what he is really good at. Johni got a steal about midcourt in the first half. He's going the other way, beats a guy to the rim, and it doesn't go in. But Chad Baker had no reason to follow that play up. It was one-on-one. Johni was either going to get the bucket, get foul, or it wasn't going to happen. No need to follow him up, but he rushed, followed it up, hustle play, and put back a jam afterwards. That's the kind of energy Chad Baker-Mazara brings that gets him to the line where sometimes he crosses it. There was a play right below me here, second half, I believe. He shot an air ball from three, and Oklahoma rebounded it. Yeah, all the other Auburn defenders are going back. He sort of goes crouching tiger, sort of gets really low to the floor and waits for a pass, and he comes out of nowhere, steals the ball back, and gets a bucket. So he turns an air ball three into a steal and 2 points for Auburn. That's the kind of energy he brings. So I know fans can get down on him sometimes when you get a little bit of the crap that you got tonight, but it's such a fine line of letting him be himself, to have that chaos, that energy and stuff that brings you the two positive things I just talked about, as opposed to the one negative.
Well, one thing that I will say in terms of what occurred tonight is in comparison to the other game, because every time this happens, that's what's going to be brought up, and rightfully so. But I think the difference in what happened tonight and the difference what happened last season, at the end of last season, is that was in the very beginning of the game, and he snapped like that. He lost his cool immediately. Tonight, he was getting hammered. He hit the ground hard a few times, and this was like a built up. And is it right? No. He needs to learn to walk away either way. But I think that the situation, you kind of have to look at it, more than just on the surface level, and take into consideration the fact that this wasn't like the first encounter, the first time he got hit, the first time he got bumped and he lost it. This was after 30 minutes of hard basketball where he got fouled pretty hard a couple times. And, I'm sure it's frustrating when you're being targeted, you're being targeted. Again, he's got to learn to walk away. But at the end of the day, I think that it is very different than what occurred because of how physical the game got about 5 minutes into the second half.
Joe wants to know, are you worried about Jahki Howard's lack of playing time?
No, I'm not. There's a really cool scene going on right now. I'm gonna try and walk down and turn my camera around, but Bruce just walked out of the locker room. There's a group of wait, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see. Okay, you're not gonna be able to see, but there's a group of.
I mean, you can walk on down go ahead and just walk on down if you'd like.
Well, I don't know if it's still gonna be there. That was really shocking.
Yeah.
There's a group of Jewish students from New York, I believe, that are here. Bruce just walked out. He's standing talking to all of them in a group right now. Cool scene. They're all very excited. But back to Jahki. No, I'm not concerned about that. This is not intel. This is my personal opinion, but I think what's happening is after the incident at the beginning of the season, he sat for a hot second because they went to Maui. He didn't play. He traveled. He didn't play in Maui. He obviously didn't play in the Houston game. And Bruce was asked about it and talked about it. And he said there just wasn't a great time to work him back into the rotation because we were playing such elite talent. We needed a game where we felt like it was the right time. So he sat for a hot second. During the Tennessee game, he got sent to the locker room. And I don't think that if what happened during the Tennessee game didn't happen, I don't think that he would have sat the last two games. He hasn't played since Tennessee. So I think that this is another one of those learning lessons. It's like, okay, your behavior is unacceptable. You can't be a distraction to the team. And because that's just selfish. It's selfish when your personal feelings, your personal emotions are going to negatively impact the team, cause a scene. It's embarrassing for himself and for the team. And I think that they're teaching him a lesson. I think they're saying, if you're going to act like that, you're not going to play. So I personally think that that's what's going on right now. I don't think that he's not playing because he's not playing well. I think that it's I don't know if I want to call it punishment, learning lesson. I guess it is kind of a punishment. Yeah, RC just said Bruce is growing Jahki up, and yeah, I think that he is. I think he's trying to teach him how to be a good teammate. And Jahki said, Steven said on the show, y'all asked him about it after the Tennessee game, and he said, we want to help him be a good man, a good person, a good basketball player. We want all of those things. And they're willing to invest, their time and their resources into helping him grow up. And I think that that's exactly what they're doing right now.
NH3425 says, you're tired of hearing me talk. Basketball season is long. He says, we saw that Grant Taylor when Dunaway started talking. I guess when I was starting to talk about the Alabama-Auburn game. Ryan wants to know what the line will be, Auburn versus Alabama. Depends on what happens with Alabama at Arkansas, Alabama at Texas. If Alabama wins both of those, we'll let LT predict on the show. But I would say in Tuscaloosa, if Alabama doesn't lose before then, I'm going to say Auburn -1.5. if Alabama doesn't lose. Is that crazy?
No, I mean I don't really. Wait, RC said it's minus 1.5 Auburn. So saying what you're saying, I don't know if that's like an early line that's posted somewhere. I have not looked. I don't have a computer in front of me right now that I can look on.
Oh, did
No, I
somebody
don't think
say
that's
that?
crazy.
Did somebody say
Yeah,
1.5 too? Oh, that was just my guess. I mean,
yeah,
if they ended up winning it, if Alabama doesn't lose, that's what I think it'll be Auburn 1.5. But we'll see. Um, Justin says with Aiden Holloway and LeBaron Philon and the ties they had to this program in that one, that it could end up being some bad blood in those two games. Absolutely, it's going to be so intense on so many levels
yeah,
with everything that's on the line, especially if Alabama can win these next two, because that'll be a battle for first place in the conference, and by that point, it may be a big gap between those two and anybody else.
right.
Um, Cody says it's amazing how I only got to watch parts of this game. Auburn looked off every time I tuned in and still wins by 30. It was 38-34, Taylor, in the first half. And coming out of the 3-minute timeout, Bruce Pearl ran a play for Johni Broome. And then it was a 12-0 run to the half and to start the second half before Oklahoma scored again. So 38-34 with about 3:50 to go, and then 12-0 run, and the game's over with at that point. And it was never close again. It got to be a 16-point game, and it was Katie barred the door from there. But Oklahoma was hanging in there because of some sloppiness from Auburn in the first half. But then they score 60 points basically in the second half, and they just clamped down defensively. This Auburn defense is so impressive.
Yeah, it is, and I think that that's what has helped them so much when they've had games where they're not shooting great. We've said it a million times before, and I'm sure we'll continue to say it throughout the season. But defense, not in terms tonight, they were obviously at home, but defense travels. If your shots aren't falling and you're playing a road game, or your shots aren't falling at home, defense travels. And some of those, low scoring games, Auburn's defense has kept them in the game and helped them win a lot of those games.
We appreciate you guys being with us on these post games all the time. Reading your comments, always one of my favorite things. Jimmy thinks Alabama will be favored by 2 in Tuscaloosa. It'll be interesting to see what it'll be. I got them at a 1.5 if they win both these games. Could be an Auburn favored. They're number 1 in the country and number 1 in all the metrics. Any more? Let's just check in the comments. Auburn -2 will be my guess, says Brian H. Carter. Auburn -1.5 from our Stu's there. Our Stu's saying Bruce has grown Jahki up. He's agreeing with you there. So our early line from DraftKings is Auburn -5.5 over Alabama right now, says NH3425. So a week from Saturday will be that game. Alabama off on the midweek, and they're at Arkansas. And then Auburn's right back in this building coming up on Saturday against the Florida Gators, which will be a huge matchup. Obviously, another NCAA tournament team and another quad 1 opportunity for this Auburn Tiger team. Give me a final thought before we hit the road, Taylor.
This team is unbelievable. This team is electric, and I'm just trying to enjoy the season. We have so much talent in the state, and it's not on the football field. It's on the basketball court. So it's fun. It's different. It's a change of pace, and we're witnessing history.
My final thought is I really enjoy the way Bruce lets this team be itself personality-wise, and when they make a mistake, being a little aggressive, showing their personality a little bit. He doesn't squash that fire and that personality, and he's letting a veteran team be themselves and sort of being team leaders. And we'll see where that takes this Auburn team. So 98-70, the final here, Auburn over Oklahoma, and that's going to do it for our basketball show. A late night here on a Tuesday. We're back live on the next round tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central Time, and tomorrow's Wednesday. So still a couple of days before our recorded weekend version coming up. We'll be back with a new basketball show ready to go Friday morning for your driving to work to get you ready for another big weekend of college basketball. She's Taylor Thorne. I'm Jim Dunaway from Neville Arena in Auburn. Good night, everybody.